Good morning, one and all. This is the third module. Today I'm going to deal with the third module and starting with the first essay. In module 3, this is the only remaining module that I have to deal for this paper. And in this module, we have 4 different essays. Okay, let me read out the names of the essays first. First one, Preface to Lyrical Ballads, which we are going to deal today and the coming sessions till it comes to an end, and Preface to Lyrical Ballads by William Wordsworth, who is not really unfamiliar to you. So you have history paper and you have studied, you are introduced with the Wordsworth already. So first essay name of the first essay is Preface to Lyrical Ballads. Second one is The Nature of the Linguistic Sign by Ferdinand de Saussure, and that also I will be dealing. Third one is Tradition and Individual Talent by T.S. Eliot. Again, the person also, that writer also, you are not really, you are acquainted with already. Okay. And the fourth one, Towards the Feminist Poetics by Elaine Showalter, which is an essay, that essay will be dealt by Febina teacher. So this is the way we have divided third module. And these 4 essays are entirely different from one another. We can divide this module. Fine. So that is the way we have this division. And after once teacher finishes up the second module, Theory of Dasa or Indian Aesthetics, that is, then again we are just in the very comfortable position of finishing off in a very amiable manner. This paper in a very amiable manner. Okay, that is first 3 essays I will be dealing, and the 4th essay will be dealt by Febina teacher. So this is the basic understanding about module 3. And now about the shift that we made after second module. We started directly dealing, or even before second module, first module. After the 4th module, we preferred to deal in the beginning. As a beginning session, we dealt with the 4th module instead of the 3rd one, and we have proper explanation for the same. Some papers, it is for your basic and common understanding while being literature students. Certain papers are there which can be dealt only in a very chronological manner, or in a way the topic by topic after topic. Just think about history paper getting dealt by teachers in such a way that the first session, let me take for example 18th century first, then going to 15th century, then coming back to 17th century, coming to 17th and going back to 16th century. You will be missing the points like anything. You will be confused like anything. So we never do that in the case of history of English literature or English language, any paper. We do like Old English, Middle English, Modern English. In the case of literature also, according to the chronological time period, we mark these distinctions. Right. So, such papers demand that kind of a paper dealing, or the content-wise moving only in a very chronological manner, or content after content manner. We have to follow that order. But in the case of certain other papers, we can deal with any module at the beginning or end of whichever place or position it may be. Right. For example, you have post-colonial paper, post-colonial literature as a paper. You have this any topic. If you have a basic idea about post-colonialism, you don't have to be worried whether the teacher deals with starts with a short story or poetry or drama or novel. But preferably we start from the simple points like poems, which are really not really taxing your grasping power or anything. Okay, so and then we move to the difficult one. That is only a psychological move. Otherwise, we can deal, or we can start from any point. Say, for example, if all the poetry prescribed are very dull and not very interesting, and you have a very good fiction in that, and that it is the freedom of the teacher to start with the fiction itself. No problem, because you are not really unfamiliar with all this. You know how the genres are distinguished according to the features, different characteristics, everything. Okay, but certain papers are there which demand very logical way of dealing with the chapters. And literary criticism and theory is one of the same. In that case, of course, literary criticism as a paper, to get it introduced as such, we have to deal with the module 1 itself in the beginning, that is Plato, Aristotle. They marked the beginning. Their criticisms, their opinions, their points were really somewhere interesting as well as not even if not even interesting for the modern readers, modern thinkers, but they really started, or they gave rise to this section, this area called criticism. Their points actually got developed. They began it, and later we see many other developments in this area, including the last one we dealt, or the latest theories that we deal, criticism, theory, whichever part it may be. Now you know that is the differences between literary criticism and literary theory. But beyond all these, without having an idea at least who Plato is, who Aristotle is, and what they have to do with this, in this area, to discuss these new modern critiques or modern theories, it's very injustice on our part, as well as to studies in such a manner you will be missing out the main points. So first module to be dealt in the beginning itself is very important in the case of literary criticism and theory for the beginners. If not for the PG students, you can start from anywhere, because you have already been introduced here with all these, and now then they can start with some modern theories maybe in the beginning. Now, that doesn't matter, but this is a paper which is entirely new for you, and for that you need something of some kind of a very preferable or desirable mode of an introduction, right? So that is why in the beginning I dealt with the first module itself. Then Indian aesthetics. Why didn't we choose for this Indian aesthetics immediately after that? You could deal, but as we have a division among faculties, fine. Indian aesthetics, you can say it is not the cornerstone. It's the contribution from India. After you are getting into theory, literary criticism, then you can understand, okay, from different nations, different countries, different cultures, new ideas can arise, and as such from India as well, our own contribution to this area. You know, India has different contributions in different disciplines, like geometry, mathematics, arithmetics. Everywhere we have our own contributions, and in the same way we have our contributions for literary criticism as well. So that Indian aesthetics to be dealt as a basic is not a necessity, so that it was kept for later, fine. But what about the shift between, or opting for the module instead of third first? I will get you the logic in the very beginning itself. You know, I read out the 4 different essays for you in this module. And in that regard, I tell you, every essay you can connect or deal most often and most probably in connection with some of the literary concepts or movements that are introduced with only. That is, fourth module, movement is one of the basics of our paper, or our understanding of theory and criticism. So let me ask you, Preface to Lyrical Ballads by William Wordsworth. I taught you 19 different movements, and the teacher also taught you some 7 to 9 concepts. Of course, you can locate this particular essay in one of the literary terms that is already introduced to you in module 4. Can anyone get me the answer for that question? Preface to Lyrical Ballads by William Wordsworth. From neoclassicism to the psychoanalytic criticism that we finished off yesterday. You just have a basic attempt to identify which it must be. Which is it? Which must be the concept or movement that we can connect, or this essay can be located in that particular theory or context of that particular movement, which must be. Otherwise, it is just about, if you cannot answer this question, it doesn't mean anything. That means I didn't tell you, I never told you to what do you say, get all these things by hearted. Nothing, it's not a demand, but at least having a basic understanding. That is why instead of providing all these vast notes in the beginning, I got you the short notes to have a reading after every class. And you have both explanation in Malayalam as well as English, and you have Google Meet sessions in English itself. So for the latecomers, I tell you, it is module 3 I am dealing with, and we are going to deal with the first section, first module, first essay, that is Preface to Lyrical Ballads. And the question is, the common question is the 4 essays that I read out, and every time, it's most often, you can locate all these, any essays prescribed in such papers like literary criticism and theory, in one of the movements or some of the literary movements or concepts, and in which movement you can locate, or with which movement you can connect this essay titled Preface to Lyrical Ballads by William Wordsworth. That is the question to you. Get me the point. Get me the answer. Please, some of you type in the chat box as an answer. Roll number 19. Roll number 11, 33, 55, 53. Any one of you. 43, 25, 59. So I'm calling just from the roll I see here. Any of you, please try to locate this this essay which we are going to deal in some of the movement, in any of the movements that you have studied, you are introduced with. Exactly, very good, Romanticism, exactly, Wordsworth, Coleridge. When you see all these writers, you have to be sure that they are in connection with, they are connected, they are in one with, they are unified with the movement called Romanticism. Very good. So that is the way. I just need such answers. Otherwise, I can make you explain those things. Nothing is done, but these are basic understanding, and at least these answers should be given to the teachers. This kind of a response at least is preferred. So apart from dealing with them in theory, you have already been introduced with the Wordsworth and all in literary history paper as well. So a history of English literature up to Romantic Revival. And the next paper that you are studying now, from Romantic Revival to the 21st century. Just see, you have the break there. That is a path-breaking event actually. That is why we divide it in that way. Otherwise, it's fine. But this marks a great difference from the existing traditions. So we have Wordsworth and Coleridge, and this is the essay that we are going to deal on behalf of their viewpoint, or the see. In Wordsworth's terms, we will see Romanticism. This is almost like an introduction to, or what we are going to do with our new movement. This is the introduction that Wordsworth gives. Preface to Lyrical Ballads. That means Lyrical Ballads should be in italics, because that is a book length collection. Okay, and we will come across a preface later. Wordsworth gives a preface to this lyrical ballad. Fine. So preface means it's almost like an introduction, or you are telling the matters. You are going to talk about something. You give introduction to your book. In different ways you can get it. Either it can be author's note, otherwise it can be a forward by someone else, some other famous writers. Otherwise it can be like an introduction, and preface also is one of the means by which you can get introduction to your book. And the Lyrical Ballads as a book you have to see, and then you have to see Lyrical Ballad. The connection between Wordsworth and Coleridge also is very important in the basic understanding of Romanticism and Lyrical Ballads, the text and its preface. How does it matter, or what is the importance of this preface? All these we will come across in the context of dealing with this essay. Okay. Lyrical Ballads. First thing, as an introduction, you have to know, it's very interesting to see Romantic literary criticism. I introduced to you the basic, that is, any writings that came in Romance languages, vulgar Latin, or different varieties of Romance languages were called Romance literature. But later we have Romantic revival. Okay, so it was there in French tradition or many other literature of the vulgar Latin, Romance languages. See, vulgar Latin, many languages evolved from this vulgar Latin, like French, Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, Romanian, and languages spoken by Romans. That's all. During that time, medieval literature time, actually literature produced from any of these languages got termed as Romance literature, Romance languages. But later what happened, it was with the Elizabethan tradition, we have this tradition back in English literature, Romantic literature. That is again promoting much of literature, subjective, themes and topics of such kind. But after that, English literature had a breakdown between some very strict traditions such as Puritanism, everything. After Elizabethan time, how during Puritanism, how theatres and everything got closed. Highly restricted themes only got promoted, religious themes, very strict moralistic themes and subject matters could be presented on stage. Public theatres got closed. But later, and again, we were witnessing, or English literary tradition was witnessing a setback. And in the 18th century as well, you have neoclassicism. We know how much problematic it is with if you view it in terms of strictness or rule-bound nature. It is really problematic. That is, you cannot always deal with the creativity. You cannot always get promotion for your creativity or the themes which are really highly creative in nature, but only something of religious and moralistic and neoclassic rigidity we normally talk about. And of course, it is with the 17th and then 18th century. During that time, we witnessed this. But later, again, we have Romantic revival with William Wordsworth and Coleridge. That's why it's not even romanticism, but Romantic revival is the preferable term. That is, you are reviving something which is already there and lost. In Elizabethan tradition, you could see the tendency of Romanticism producing literature of a very liberal type literature, liberal themes and subject matters. That is what they want. Romanticism wants this kind of a liberal mode of dealing, liberal way of dealing with the subject matters. Fine. But here, later with some other Puritanism and many other neoclassic traditions, you could see again curtailing the freedom of expression. That is, subject matters, everything you could opt and select only according to the decided or preferable standards of a society, or the traditional mode of fixing what should be dealt with, which should be dealt with, how it should be dealt with. All these are decided and you write accordingly. It is almost like sometimes we talk about you cutting your let's see, നമ്മളത് എന്താ പറയുക, നമ്മളത് ശരിക്കും യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത് ചെരുപ്പിനനുസരിച്ച് കാല് മുറിക്കുക എന്ന് പറയില്ല. അതുപോലെയാണ് നമ്മൾ ക്രിയേറ്റിവിറ്റിനെ കട്ട് ഷോർട്ട് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ അങ്ങനെ ഒരു യൂസേജ് ഉണ്ട്, നിങ്ങൾക്കറിയാം. അതിന്റെ എക്സാക്ട്ലി ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് ഐ ഡോണ്ട് നോ വെദർ പ്രോവർബ് ഈസ് അവൈലബിൾ, സോ ഐ ഡു നോട്ട് വോണ്ട് ടു അറ്റംപ്റ്റ് സച്ച് എ റിസ്ക്. അതിന് കണക്കായ എന്തെങ്കിലും ഇംഗ്ലീഷിൽ ഉണ്ടോ എന്നറിയില്ല, ഐ ഡോണ്ട് നോ. ബട്ട് മലയാളത്തിൽ നമ്മൾ ഇത് പറയും, ചെരുപ്പിനനുസരിച്ചിട്ട് കാല് മുറിക്കുകയാണ്. ദാറ്റ് മീൻസ് ആക്ച്വലി യു ആർ നോട്ട് സപ്പോസ്ഡ് ടു ഡു ദാറ്റ്, ബട്ട് യു ആർ ഹൈലി ക്രിയേറ്റീവ്. You want to express your ideas with all your freedom, but you do not have the provision. So you cut short it according to the means and the requirements of what you get there in your society, in your accepted norms and culture. So this is a very problematic situation, very problematic or identity crisis for a creative mind. And that is why Wordsworth or some other poets who were, they were a group of people who were actually in the beginning they were very friendly, close, almost bosom friends, and later they were having problem among themselves. That also is very important in the understanding of this essay. And Wordsworth and Coleridge, they also became almost like very enemy. Their relationship becomes very hostile after, actually, with this lyrical ballad publication itself. That tradition we will come to know, that events we will come to notice down. Before that, you please have an understanding. This is about romantic revival, and the essay which we are going to deal with is the one is Preface to Lyrical Ballad. Please understand, Lyrical Ballads is the name of the text. Whenever you write it for the examination or in your note, Lyrical Ballads should be underlined but not Preface to. As a whole, the essay is within double quotes, but Lyrical Ballads, in typing you have to get it in italics. In writing, you make it underlined to make it sure, make it clear that it is a book length publication. Okay, fine. So Preface to Lyrical Ballads. First topic I am going to introduce to you is with what is between Wordsworth and Coleridge. It's a very interesting something. It's very interesting. Okay. So Wordsworth's early composition and his creative partnership with the Coleridge, S.T. Coleridge. Who is this Coleridge? Have you come across Coleridge? Any of the works of Coleridge in poetry paper? I taught you. That's why I asked you very specifically. Please type down the poem that was introduced to you in the last semester by this Wordsworth. You studied one poem. From Coleridge also you studied one poem. Okay, from Wordsworth, roll number 31. Which was the poem that you studied, that was written by Wordsworth, that is written by Wordsworth during second semester, please? No, Wordsworth. 41, Wordsworth, poem by Wordsworth, roll number 41. 41 is not here. Roll number 47, which was the poem by Wordsworth that you studied. It's really good that you are introduced with the nature of the writing of both these poets. Exactly, very good. Solitary Reaper, and by Coleridge it is Kubla Khan. Fine. And they were really very good friends, and that resulted in the 1798 anonymous publication of Lyrical Ballads. Please note down the year of the publication of the text, that is in 1798. These years are really important. Lyrical Ballads, the text, whole text in 1798 Lyrical Ballads as an anonymous text. What do you mean by anonymous? What do you mean by anonymous? You are doing something anonymous author. That means you are not revealing your name while publishing something. Anonymous calls. Yeah. Are you Mr. X? Yes. Who is this? I am your well-wisher. No name, no identity, no country of origin, but well-wisher. That is anonymous calls. You talk sometimes about. So this is the way they published this, anonymously they published this Lyrical Ballads together. Okay, but why this anonymous nature of the book? Why couldn't these two people are publishing? It's a co-authored book. First thing you have to know, Lyrical Ballads contained the poems, collection of poems by both these authors. First, see, Coleridge's poems were there as well as Wordsworth's. Okay, and the volume opened with Coleridge's Ancient Mariner. First detail, that is, this volume opened with the Coleridge's STC. I refer here STC's The Ancient Mariner. One of the poems. I will type down. Please note down all these points if you just for your basic understanding. Ancient Mariner. That is the poem by S.T. Coleridge, and which is that is the first poem by poetry that got published in the 1798 edition of Lyrical Ballads. And it closed with the last poem was by Wordsworth. I shortened the names just for the sake of typing. Wordsworth's symbols. Wordsworth's Tintern Abbey. It's the name of the poems. These are, so we put it in double quotes. Tintern Abbey. A-B-B-E-Y. Okay. Tintern Abbey. These details you will not get in the essay, but to have a better understanding, we should get all these points in the beginning. Fine. Tintern Abbey. It closes with, actually this is the closing poem. Why this much importance is given to first and the last, I will tell you. This matters a lot. But all three of the intervening poems were Wordsworth's. That means most of the other poems were written by Wordsworth. So this is about their taking it into account that we are going to have to write something collaboratively, and that should be, then it is already, I told you, it is anonymously they published it. Right? So this anonymity, that is because they were not really sure whether this collection or this kind of a poetry, which is highly challenging or which is highly something away from or different from the established norms, that is neoclassic rigidity, neoclassic tradition, which is already established and which has been going on till date, or in a way continuing till date, and these people are swimming against the current. What do you mean by swimming against the current? Swimming toward in the same direction of the current, that is a flowing river. Just think about to swim back against its current, that is the movement of the flow of the, if the flow of the river is from left to right, it is very difficult for you to swim back from right to left. That means you are moving against the current. Otherwise you do not have to swim even. That river will do everything for you. Right? So this is the way you have to take your own effort to swim against the current. And these people were attempting the same, that is challenging the established tradition of neoclassicism or the then tradition, then established the method of writing or appreciated and well celebrated method of writing was neoclassicism, or to follow its rigid rules and all. And these people, so that they didn't want to introduce themselves but these poems for the public, and to make the readers convinced first that this is something beautiful, this is something cute, that is you are one with the nature, you are dealing with the nature, you are going to study nature, you are going to praise and be one with the nature. Ode to a nightingale, ode to the west wind. All these poems are from them. Not all these may not be in Lyrical Ballads itself, but as their poems, if you would just think about a poet spending time on a solitary reaper for a long time. Neoclassic writers had been insisting upon taking everything serious. Only something serious should be part of your writings, part of your theme, or part of your thinking even. But these people are into the nature and they are observing stones, flowers, sun, sunrise, sunset, all these. So something really different and something really positive. It gives some positive vibe. But already there are people, readers, a majority of the sect who were in the tradition of neoclassic rigidity, or who were appreciating and who were adjusted to, tuned to neoclassic rigidity. So all of a sudden to accept such a change was something we couldn't always predict. These people were not really sure that our new writings will be or would be appreciated as such. With immediate effect, such an appreciation we cannot expect. So that they made it a very slow and steady movement. Steady progress only could be expected out of their experiment. That is the term you can see in the very beginning of your essay. This is an experiment. These forms are like experiments. You are trying to find out vaccine for COVID-19. We have different vaccines, but for this we need something different. And of course, you are not okay. Today we have found out, we have developed a vaccine, and I'm going to inject it in you. This is not the way they come with these new vaccines, whichever it may be. Not just in the case of COVID-19, but any case, right? So the same way, these people are trying something new, something experimental. And as they are not really established writers at that time, now if not during this time. Now we have English literature, we sometimes synonymous names we some writers hold as they are names as synonyms for literature, English literary tradition. Sometimes it's like Shakespeare, sometimes it is with Wordsworth. We cannot avoid them, but that time they were just beginners. And they were, of course, challenging the established tradition, right? So this, and the collection of lyrical ballads came out in 1798. Can you locate the century? 1798 means, of course, 18th century, right? 18th century, if you talk in terms of century. 1798 as an year, you can talk about 18th century. Century wise it is 18th century. Then, so they published it and the work was in one way or other for the reading public. After that, what happens? Now, a new edition of Lyrical Ballad. Of course, okay, they published it in 1798, but a new edition of Lyrical Ballad incorporating Wordsworth's Preface. What is it? Incorporating means adding. Wordsworth's Preface, a new edition of Lyrical Ballads incorporating Wordsworth's Preface and many new poems was issued in 1800. See the year? 1800. That means after 2 years of the first edition, the second edition, the new edition. Editions are, of course, possible in the case of a book. But once the first edition is over, once it is sold out, or if some errors are there, you can, of course, definitely go for the new edition. Okay, so editions are, of course, possible in the case of any book. But this is a new edition with a lot of changes. What are the changes? First thing it is about, this Wordsworth began to play tricks with this poor Coleridge, our Kubla Khan man, who is already kind of sleepy fellow, and this person took the opportunity, and Wordsworth, this is the way they become hostile, because in the beginning you saw Coleridge's poem as the first one, and Wordsworth's at the end But in between Wordsworth, he was, of course, Coleridge also agrees. He's very fruitful and very enthusiastic a writer comparing to me. That means he's very productive. It's not even the creativity, but productive. Many poems at a time he can write. Not like me, I'm very sleepy. I'm very lazy. Coleridge himself admits. But there are a lot of opinion differences between them. Beginning from this event, they become very really hostile, or somewhere they are missing out their friendship from here. And this edition, the 1800 edition, gave Wordsworth's name on the title page, but not Coleridge. See the kind of cheating imposed upon our poor Coleridge. What happened? In the title page, that man, Wordsworth, the very tricky man, what did he do? He gave only his name, not Coleridge. On the title page, you see what kind of a treachery it is. Where, and in what happened in this 1800 edition, where Ancient Mariner, which was the first poem in the first volume, was moved back to become the penultimate. What do you mean by penultimate? It's a new term for you. Penultimate. Penultimate means last but one. What do you mean by last but one? That is a usage that I used to use in your class. Last but one means, this essay we have 12 paragraphs. Which is the last but one, which must be the last but one. No, actually this essay is more than 12 paragraphs, but we have to study only 12 paragraphs. So which is the 12, when if you have a say with the 12 paragraph, which must be the last but one paragraph? It is the exactly 11th one is the last but one. That means just the one just before the closing. So just see the kind of treachery or insult imposed upon our poor Coleridge. In the first edition, his poem was given as the first one, and both of their names were the. But in the new edition, this Wordsworth did a lot that kind of a trick on this, played that kind of a trick, and this Ancient Mariner, the first poem, moved to become the penultimate one in the collection, and this new edition was with the preface, which we are going to study. So you please note down, 1798 edition didn't contain any preface, but only 1800 the second edition only contained the preface. And who wrote this preface? It was only by Wordsworth. He was actually taking the goal. He was trying to get the goal. He was in one way or other making Coleridge invisible. You have to feel very sorry for him. Okay, actually if you compare Wordsworth and Coleridge, Coleridge is far better a poet as well as a literary critic and a literary figure. Wordsworth's poems are of course good, but apart from that, Coleridge is very creative, very competitive a human being as well as a literary figure. Okay, yeah. So in the preface, Wordsworth declared that, now we are into the essay, or we are moving to the essay. In the preface, Wordsworth declared that the book's object was to choose incidents and situations from common life and to relate or describe them in a selection of language really used by men, tracing in them the primary laws of our nature. Don't worry, we will come across this again in the essay. As a whole, at a very surface level, just have an understanding that they were trying to simplify. They were trying to make the language simplified, the concepts, themes and subject matters as also very simplified. Okay, so not like unlike the neoclassic people who wanted everything very serious, every subject matter, language, theme, concept, way of dealing, approach, everything they wanted to be highly, what do you say, tough and somewhere serious. But these people, in that regard, these people were having a very common understanding. But later, of course, because of these events, that is the way Wordsworth played tricks in the case of lyrical ballads, they were estranged. Okay, and of course you can see with the many other additions or differences you have in 1802 and 1805 different editions of lyrical ballads. So please don't lyrical ballads. Please don't mistake this preface to lyrical ballads as a as a title, but it is just about the preface that you get for the book called Lyrical Ballads. But as it is introduced as an essay, we normally make it in double quotes. That's all. Otherwise, Lyrical Ballads is the name of the text, and this is an introduction or preface on the part of Wordsworth we are going to study as part of our syllabus. Okay. And in the collection of lyrical ballads of 1798, 19 poems were 1798 edition. You have 19 poems by Wordsworth. I'm typing it for you. And only 4 poems by S.T. Coleridge. So that is why Coleridge also admits that Wordsworth was really productive. Productive means you are capable of creating number of poems in a limited time. Some people always talk about this writer's block and all. Writer's block. Oh, I cannot write anything. But all of a sudden a lot of writings come. But within a limited or fixed time schedule, they cannot always do that also. So this is some people are like some people you might have come. See, it's for the sake of business purpose, for the sake of writing and making money out of they write. It's almost like a machine they write down. So that is how you can hire content writers and all. That is, content writers are almost always hired because it's beyond your more than creativity. Of course, creativity is needed, but you can write down as per the demand of your career, your writing career, you can write down. A person gives you a topic and you can write a lot on that. So you, in one way or other, this high competent natured persons can do that, only do that. But real creativity means all of a sudden in the bus you have something coming out as poetry and you cannot resist taking the pen or book or something to write down. Otherwise, you are lost with it. All of a sudden, during midnight, you have some poetry striking at you and you cannot stay away from writing. So that is the genuine creativity. But otherwise also out of sometimes you have poetry writing competitions and all, poem writing competition. Actually that is against creativity. That's completely, totally against creativity. That means you people are inside a room and some persons give you the topic for writing and you compose something. That also demands creativity, but actually creativity should come out all of a sudden. That is what they tell in this preface. We will come across that as part of our essay. And majority of the poems are seen to be treated as experiments, not as canons. In the beginning, I told you they are beginners, and the majority of the poems are not just as treated as experiments. Okay, and then advertisement of Wordsworth. Poems are to be written in ordinary language. See, these are the basic ideas Wordsworth talks about. See, it should be written in ordinary language, and they were actually severely criticized by Edinburgh Review and Quarterly Review. Those are the major journals during that time. Edinburgh Review and Quarterly Review, which were commenting, which were reviewing the writings of the time, and actually that was the reason. This is 1798 edition once came out. These people, Wordsworth and Coleridge together, they were very good friends during that time. Please remember, only in 1800 these problems come. Before that, they were severely criticized for their experiment-like writing in 1798. That is the Lyrical Ballad, not the Preface or anything. And this is how Wordsworth got very angry. My experiment, our attempt, our experiment, our poems are criticized in this way. That is how actually he decides to add a preface. This is a context you have to know. Why this preface is needed? Why should we convince someone else? The convincing. I have written poems of my own choice. Why should I get an explanation in this way? It's almost like an explanation. I'm going to do like this. Our stance is like this, stance is like that. This is what you get in Preface to Lyrical Ballads in the 1800 edition. But they were in the position to defend themselves. What do you mean by defending themselves, defending your position? You are trying to explain, you are trying to make it clear, make things clear. Okay, you are accused of something. And if you have some justifiable points of your own, you can defend yourself. Even if there is nothing justifiable, people try to defend themselves. No, I didn't do that. I will not admit that error. I will not admit that mistake. This is the stand taken by people most often, and that's why we have a lot of communication problems, everything. Wordsworth actually didn't want to make the communication gap or anything filled. Actually, he starts all the problems right from there. But him as a writer, he wanted to make himself established. To get the negative remark and review in such established journals really was threatening. That is a threatening factor for his career as a writer. So he began to make, or he attempted a preface and tried to make his points clear. Okay, so this is again an expressive theory of Romanticism. Romanticism as a movement we have seen what the whole stand of Romanticism is about, but this is almost like an expressive theory. That is, as a whole, he is almost like a spokesperson. He is trying to make himself in the position of a spokesperson of Romanticism, and he tells that it's almost like expressing. We are expressing. Of course, we are expressing our feelings, nature, everything in the poetry, not the way this neoclassic rigidity demands us out of. Fine. So this is the way we have the introduction to lyrical ballads and romantic literature, one of the important essays in romantic literature. One more thing I would like to add, as this is a collection of poetry by both these persons. Wordsworth just gives a preface, and some points or most points Coleridge could not accept, even though they both of them belong to the same tradition of Romanticism. This is about writing poetry, and sometimes some people, we will see how Coleridge finds some of his points very illogical, and that is how we have in Coleridge one of the important and very valuable books of criticism, that is Biographia Literaria. Even later, we have a lot of explanation, as well as Coleridge makes his points clear. We do not have Biographia Literaria under prescription, but you have to know how Coleridge was compelled to write down his own. My points are this. Wordsworth tells his points, but as it was a book that was a collection of poetry between both of us, you may mistake his points for mine too. That's not the case. And he wanted to make things clear, even in a very clear-cut manner. He makes his points valuable points. Actually, for romantic criticism, it's not Preface to Lyrical Ballad that is the one of the best, but that of Coleridge Biographia Literaria, chapter 8. It's a long book. It's a book-length publication, Biographia Literaria. But in some of the chapters, you have much on you get the beautiful picture of romanticism as a movement on the part of Coleridge. So this is all with the Lyrical Ballads introduction to the essay. Today we didn't start the essay as such, but without understanding these points, there is no point in my discussing romantic lyrical ballads or preface to lyrical ballads. So that's all for the time being. Thank you.